Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com. ODOO.com.
I think they were doing it.
No, she just changed into Rose in the moment, like you'd stay for her.
No, because the Pearl says they used to hang out all the time, remember?
Halt!
Right, it's Monday.
Damn it, I nailed the furniture down exactly for this reason.
Yeah, well, it's called a crowbar. Pilgrim, ever heard of it?
Pilgrim? Really?
Who is it, Brother Heath?
Well, it appears to be a Spanish conquistador and an old Indian medicine man, sir.
I get that a lot, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Show them away.
You heard him.
Ow, Tom, stop it!
Hey.
What are you doing?
Okay, so Eli found these golden plates, right?
No. Tell him about the angel first.
No, wait. Tell him about the time God turned everyone red as punishment.
Guys,
for when they
Eli does not have golden plates. Eli didn't talk to an angel. He's just stealing this stuff from this week's episode.
Son of a...
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm kind of surprised seeing how Joseph Smith ends up.
Hypothetically, how does Joseph Smith end up?
Well, you know how we die a lot, Eli?
Oh, fish noodles. Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts, because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Eli Bosnick, and I'll be your Nephi, but I'll need some murmuring brothers. First up, two guys who did not get those jokes because they aren't stupid sadists, Tom and Cecil.
Okay, I like to think of myself as an above-average sadist. Thank you.
Every time someone hands me a holy book, my answer is always the same. Reject the premise. I just reject the premise.
And also joining us tonight, two men who know just how great the price of that pearl is, Heath and Noah.
Yeah, the pearl of great price is definitely the sand chafing your clam of books, 100%.
Well, and as to the price, the LDS is estimated to be worth about $67 billion. Jesus. And that's way more than the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So, yeah, it's pretty fucking high price.
Shit. Before we begin tonight, we want to take a moment to thank our patrons. Without you, Cecil and Tom would have to split the West with their feuding. Noah would have written a New Testament for God, and Heath would still be trying to fuck people 2 decades younger than him.
No.
If you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around till the
Jesus
end of the show.
Christ.
And with that out of the way,
17-year-olds.
tell us, Cecil, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about the Audrey Meadows Massacre.
Audrey Meadows.
And
It's
Noah.
a it's a honeymooners reference.
Oh, my
there.
God.
For those old folks in the audience.
It's a deep coat. Someone's in a
Deep
home
cut.
right
So
now.
there's
just-
one guy who's like, to the moon, Ellis, and he's like, I love that joke.
Bang.
No.
Zoom. Nailed it.
Let me
Meeting
unplug
women
this
is
for my
funny.
Jamaican nurse so she can hear this. Oop, that was my life. Beep. So tell us, Noah, what was the Mountain Meadows Massacre?
Well, if I just answer that question, it wouldn't exactly be a Noah essay, would it? So let's start with a little primer on Mormon history.
Jesus fucking Christ, if the first Mormon was an Etruscan or there's a geological event, I'm bowing out.
Okay, well, I'm going to warn you, there are rocks.
No, I don't want to say anymore.
But before we get to the rocks, we have to overcome people's prejudices. So like, when I say Mormon, the first adjective that pops into your head probably isn't warlike. But I would submit to you that if you take the history of Mormonism as a whole, that's a very apt descriptor. All right, so if you're looking for people who spent more time plotting to violently overthrow the existing power structure, you're pretty much limited to Che Guevara or Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, I'd throw ISIS in there, but I don't think it counts if it's just modifying the existing.
Exactly. No, right.
Not the rules.
So
I'd say Joe Smith, like, you could describe him as one is a genius, the other's insane. That's a good description of Joe Smith.
all right, so I'm going to power through a lot of the stuff leading up to the massacre, but I want to tell you that the history of Mormonism is a goddamn fractal of insanity. Okay, I don't have time to go into a whole lot of detail, but I assure you that if you zoom in on any one point, you're just going to find insanity built upon more insanity. So as crazy as all this shit is going to sound, I promise the full history is way fucking crazier.
Cool. So you're saying the massacre they carried out that you're about to describe, that's one of the flattering stories about the Mormons that you're doing.
No, just one of the least crazy is all.
Cool.
All right. So the story of Mormonism starts with the story of Joseph Smith, a criminal charlatan who claimed to have superpowers and a magical rock. Seriously. In his early years, he made his living by going to people's farms, telling them that he had magical visions that an ancient treasure was buried by ancient white people from America on their property, and then offering to dig it up for them in exchange for room and board during the excavation. And people are stupid, so this worked sometimes.
Jesus. Well, I mean, admittedly, that's way more work than most kids do around the house.
That's true.
So I guess that's room and board.
So let me just clarify that his scam, like if everything went perfect in his scam, he got to couch surf at your place for a little bit. Like that
Doesn't seem like
that
a
was
big
his
win.
Ocean's 11 moment.
He needs a phase 3. He's not thinking it through.
Okay, well, here's the... Well, occasionally he fucked your daughter, too. But the key here is that Joseph Smith is incredibly fucking lazy, okay? Like, this has fuck all to do with the story, but I have to tell you this anyway. He didn't actually do any of the digging, right? He had
Kind of like him right now.
He had a team of laborers that did the digging, and then his job during the digging was to consult with his magic rock and make sure they were still digging in the right place because, and this is real, Joseph would tell them that if they angered God, God would move the treasure to a different subterranean spot.
Jesus.
Side note, in the stream of consciousness of boring that is the Book of Mormon, he would repeat this lie literally just so he could go back to all the people he never found treasure for, all of them, and be like, see, Moses agrees with me. Moses.
Quick question. Were you guys loving the Jewish people while we were digging? Because God moves your shit around if you don't love Jewish people in upstate New York. I don't know what to tell you.
All right, so this scam worked out as well as it could for a while, I guess, but eventually word got around and it got harder and harder for Joseph to sell this scam after failing to find treasure at every other place. But luckily, at just about the same time, God and Jesus were looking for a good earthly representative. And they figured, you know, who would be more trustworthy than a person that already has a criminal record for con artistry. So they sent down an angel named Moroni to tell Joseph that he'd been chosen to restore Christ's church to its intended glory.
Okay, like Moroni, that's like moron with an I at the end.
It is
of
precisely
I mean,
moron with an I.
It's like they
Yeah.
named their angel an Italian moron. Did he come down with his cherub friend Idiota too? Is that what happened?
It's just ridiculous that God would choose some random nobody with no power, no connections, no access to a broader social audience to tell only that one guy his most super importantest message to just...
Yeah, you wouldn't think he'd do that again.
Yeah.
We should
think
move
you do
on.
that every single time.
We've ruined all
Feels
religion.
like this is going to get awkward.
Yeah.
All right, so of course nobody would believe a story like this without some physical evidence. So Moroni told Joseph Smith about some golden plates that he could go dig up to prove that he was sent by God, provided that he promised not to let anyone ever see or touch those golden plates. Now, if you think nobody would be convinced by physical evidence they weren't allowed to see or touch, I submit to you Salt Lake City. Also the Vatican, Also, Mecca. I have more examples, but I can leave it there, I think.
Mueller report. Mueller report.
For fuck's sake, if I didn't believe in things I couldn't see or touch, I would have spent all of high school not believing in boobs.
Right. So why didn't God just make it a clitoris? You know?
Now you're just talking crazy, Cecil.
Now you're bringing out the fantasy.
All right. So anyway, Joey uses these unverifiable golden plates that nobody got to see to write the Book of Mormon, a tome more densely packed with anachronisms than the town of fucking Bedrock. And using nothing but that, his gumption, and the amazingly low educational standards of America circa 1830, he started his very own religion.
That's a good formula. Kind of like the Republican Party circa right now. Yeah.
Well, but with more gumption, yes. So Joseph Smith's budding religion was saddled by a couple of problems early on. The first is simple bigotry. Right? Any group of people ascribing to an unfamiliar religion in 19th century America was going to face persecution, even if they slapped Jesus Christ on the name of their church here and there. The second was that Joseph Smith was a con artist with that criminal record of his and a penchant for dishonest business dealings that didn't stop when he started working for Jesus. The third is that as soon as Joseph Smith realized people were actually going to listen to what he said God said, he got a bunch more revelations from God about how he should be fucking everybody's daughter.
Convenient.
So, yeah, needless to say, the blossoming new faith had a hard time getting along with the neighbors.
Hey, real quick, what did the tablet say?
Oh, and it says, and lo, on your knees shall the daughters of you be in supplication. It says more, but you get the drift.
It says me personally. Can I see those?
No.
All right, sounds plausible. Have at him. Have at him. Yeah. Go
That's
Susan
brought to
last.
you by actual history. Yeah. Yes.
Susan's perfect for last.
All right. That's fucked up. All right, so they get run out of several towns early on. Now, if you listen to the Mormon version of this history, they tell you all about problem 1, and they're curiously silent on points 2 and 3 there. But to be clear, the religious persecution, real as it might have been, was also informed by the fact that the Mormons were literally trying to overthrow the American government and establish a theocracy with Joseph Smith as the nation's God King.
Yeah, and cream pie everyone's daughter. That's less than endearing, actually. So.
Okay, but I mean, all women are someone's daughter.
We've got a cream pie
kind of
somebody.
endearing,
Yes,
right?
that's fair.
It's a compliment. They're so pretty.
Yeah.
And look, I know that my descriptions probably sound hyperbolic to most people, but by the time that the Mormons were settled in Nauvoo, Illinois, which was the largest city in the state at the time, they had an army, a special forces, a secret service, and they were printing their own money.
What? More money.
More money, more money. Joseph Smith is just waving his arms around. Who's coming with me?
Also, by the way, they also would send out their soldiers to harass and terrorize local politicians. They had an open policy of raiding neighboring settlements that refused to submit to their prophet. They fought multiple wars against state militias. And then when a printer in a nearby Illinois town tried to alert people of the kind of crazy shit the Mormons were doing, Joseph Smith sent in his army to burn that guy's shop to the fucking ground.
Cool. What's that old saying? Don't pick fights with people who buy arson gasoline by the barrel? Is that even if you buy ink by the barrel, don't do it with the arson guys?
No. So Joseph Smith was no stranger to being arrested, but in 1844, after burning down said printing press, looting and burning a bunch of settlements, and declaring open war on the state, he was arrested for the last time. He was shot and killed in a Missouri jail on June 27th of 1844, and there are a lot of different stories about who killed him and why. So the official Mormon position is that he was killed by a lynch mob motivated through pure religious bigotry. On the other side of the spectrum, some people postulate that he was killed by a contingent of the Mormon army that was working under the surreptitious direction of future Mormon leader Brigham Young. But one way or the other, he was shot to death.
Right, but most importantly, literally everyone agrees he tried to stop the bullet that killed him with magic.
Yep.
He literally did a magic shield gesture that failed. He got shot, and then he died. That is Mormon canon.
And history. One of the few times those two things overlap. Yeah.
Ping! I bounced it back at you. You have to fall down. You fall down now, and I'm dead. I'm dead in real life.
All right, so normally this is where these kind of stories end. right? Like the charismatic leader of the cult dies, the cult disperses. But Mormonism was lucky enough to inherit a second charismatic leader at just that moment. Or at least the faction of the ensuing schism that sided with Brigham Young did. The other 3 or 4 offshoots withered on the vine pretty quickly. So Brigham Young takes the demoralized remaining Mormons west into unsettled lands looking for the paradise that dead Joseph Smith promised them. And what they found instead was Salt Lake City, Utah. Now,
Ew.
Right? So, quick reminder on the geography of the time. This is the 1840s. At this point, the actual states end at the Mississippi River. There's a big blob to the west that shows up on maps as just unorganized territories. Utah was to the west of that. Right? Like when they started settling there in 1847, technically that was still part of Mexico until the war wrapped up a year later.
Oh, shit.
I love that, like, of all the fucking places you choose to settle, they pick next to a massive, undrinkable water supply.
Yes!
Like, how the fuck do you sell that to everybody? It's like, okay, well, we're here, and we are in great luck if you have a sore throat. But also, I hope you never get thirsty. So, what the fuck?
It'll be easy. The good news is it'll be easy to do brining. So,
Yeah.
now, obviously, the U.S. government didn't look super highly on this group of polygamous, larcenous, murderous, warlike, seditious idolaters that had declared open war on them multiple times, but they did have...
Kind of
Oh,
U.S.
sorry.
history. It's fine.
Yeah. But they did have one advantage when it came to dealing with the feds. They were white. See, at that time, Utah wasn't so much unsettled as it was fully populated, but with brownish people. And the federal government, yeah, right. Obviously, they didn't want that. So, despite their reservations, they
Literally took over that land despite reservations. Though. I just want to say that.
Yeah, it was kind of a gamble.
All right, so
Chief
in the
Wahoo.
compromise... All right, but then, okay, so where I was going, though, was compromise of 1850. President Millard Fillmore officially creates the Utah Territory and selects Brigham Young as the territory's first governor.
So, Mr. Young, we're having trouble with these Mexican people. Anything in your holy book about Mexican people? We just had a whole war with... Are those skulls? That was really fast.
I already had...
Where'd you even have those? My name's Millard.
All right, so now the Mormons are legit. They're setting up a government that has been generously described as a theodemocracy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
What we have now.
They have elections, technically, but it doesn't matter because they all vote as a block anyway. And after the elections, all the church leaders will just get these quasi-political appointments that happen to correspond to their ecclesiastical roles.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, right. So, like, if you're a judge according to the church, you're appointed as a probate judge. That kind of shit. And since the territorial legislature was virtually entirely comprised of Mormons, all of those appointments are hastily ratified.
It's like, oh my God, he wants to know what his title is.
His title? Who cares what his fucking title is? He's just there not to be brown.
Well, we can't call him director in charge of being white.
No, we can't do that.
So president then?
President.
That doodly-doo was in 2016.
Yeah,
for
it
those confused.
All right, so this kind of shit, plus the open practice of polygamy, made a lot of people in the federal government nervous. So in 1857, then-President James Buchanan sent a contingent of the U.S. Army to Utah in what was called the Utah Expedition. The stated goal was all about exploration and surveying and stuff, but the real goal was to make sure that there was a presence of federal troops to keep the Mormons from losing their shit.
The Mormons totally losing their shit. Just one Mormon tearing his magical T-shirt off like Hulk Hogan.
Well, yeah, as a response to the expedition, the Mormons promptly lost their shit. I don't know about the T-shirt thing, but probably.
And probably said the N-word on tape. It works for everybody.
All right, so Daniel H. Wells, the lieutenant governor of the Nauvoo Legion, issued the following instruction to his army. Quote, On ascertaining the locality or route of their troops, proceed at once to annoy them in every possible way.
Annoy them?
By knocking on their door at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning and telling them about your God. That's what you need to do. Yeah.
Leave crumbs in their butter. Squeeze their toothpaste from the center. Don't break down their recycling boxes.
I like crumbs in the butt. Whatever. The other two examples make sense.
All right, the quote continues. Use every exertion to stampede their animals and set fire to their trains. Burn the whole country
from the
before
crumbs in the butter.
burn the whole country before them and on their flanks. Keep them from sleeping by night surprises. Blockade the road by felling trees or destroying the river fords where you can. Watch for opportunities to set fire to the grass on their windward so as, if possible, to envelop their trains. Leave no grass before them that can be burned.
Jesus, man.
End quote. Yeah, so with that order, a conflict began that later historians would dub the Utah War.
All right, so looks like we are rapidly speeding towards the only time in history that Mormons were interesting. So I'm going to need a break for a marshmallow square and a little something we call apropos of nothing. Hey, 1840s Heath.
Hello, 1840s Eli.
So, did you change your mind about joining my religion?
No, I have not. It's just not my thing. I don't want to.
Come on, it's amazing. You get a bunch of wives.
Okay, I see what you're doing. Don't.
Oh, all right, fine. Touchy subject. Let's just say some of us have lots of wives.
All right, look, that sounds good, but just doesn't seem like it's for me.
Getting a wife?
No. The religion is not for me.
Oh, okay. Well, if that doesn't convince you, you also get to knock on people's doors before noon on a Saturday.
Before when?
Noon.
Noon? When's noon? Is that like during the light time hours?
It's in the first half of the day.
All right, well, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, maybe tough on your busy schedule.
Yeah.
I can't. What am I gonna... I don't know. I don't really think I can think of anything I can do to convince you now to join our...
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like it's my thing, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're probably right. I mean, early in the book, it says that all dark-skinned people are evil, so I can imagine it would be pretty...
I'm in. Tentatively.
Fucked up.
Go.
Hey, 1840s Heath.
Hey, 1840s Eli.
Would you like to join my...
No, I would not, because I believe in equality, and I am not a racist. Thank you.
Heath, this isn't a sketch.
Yes, it is. This is a sketch. We're two characters. That's a sketch. We're sketching.
Right,
Go. Keep going.
There's no joke. It's just you negating the joke from the previous...
It's a great sketch. It stays in the show. Go. Continue sketch. We are still in the sketch.
You're right, Heath. You have too many positive qualities to number.
I do. It would be so hard to pick one, right?
You do.
Great sketch.
And we're back. When last we left the Mormons, they declared a thumb war on America. No, tell us. Thumb war? Was what happened next awesome for the Mormons or super awesome?
It was... of all the people, it was more awesome for the Mormons than some. So it's important to emphasize that the conflict was only called the Utah War in retrospect. At the time, it was literally just the U.S. Army trying to go to part of the U.S., while a bunch of zealots shot at them from the bushes and set fire to their goats. I mean, it's not like the citizenry of the day would have gotten war updates from CNN if it had been a declared war, but as it stood, there was virtually no way for anyone outside of Utah or Washington, D.C. to even know something was happening there. Right, like the elites in major cities might have read about it in the newspaper, but the average person had probably never even heard of Utah at this time.
Oh, kind of like Puerto Rico right now. That's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, to be entirely fair, I've heard about Utah, and I still don't care about it.
Right.
So
No, if there was a war, you wouldn't. Okay.
Relation.
So now that brings us to the Baker-Fancher Wagon Trail. So what we have here is a group of pioneers, mostly from Arkansas, that hadn't obviously heard anything about the Utah War, but had heard something about there being gold in them thar hills. The California gold rush has been in full bloom for years by now, and while it was trailing off in 1857, California still beat the ever-loving fuck out of Arkansas, so somewhere between 120 and 140 of them gathered together, loaded up their wagons, and headed west via a route that was going to take them right through southern Utah.
Ooh, southern Utah.
It's going to be difficult, men. There'll be deprivation and despair, dysentery, murderous natives, privation, starvation. There'll be endless, tedious labor only broken by moments of heart-rending terror. Many of your loved ones will assuredly perish, their pain and anguish haunting your days while terror stalks you at night.
But we're leaving Arkansas, though.
Yes.
You had me at dysentery. Let's do this.
Should have been bankers from Boston instead of farmers from Arkansas. Start with more money. You don't get as many points, though.
And of course, okay, so the entire state of Utah is on edge at this point. Word of the feds moving in had filtered down through the territory, and along the way it had picked up some wild exaggerations. A lot of Mormons were under the impression that the feds were sending in an army to exterminate them. And, of course, this was all exacerbated by Mormon teachings, which encouraged Mormons of their church to not only distrust outsiders, but said it was okay to just steal their shit.
Yeah, like their virginity.
Mm-hmm. Come on, prima nocta is a compliment. Again, that's like, we want to fuck your heathen women. That's a compliment. You guys are being weird about it.
All right, so the Baker-Fancher party makes it to Utah in the summer of 1857, where they're promptly refused entrance to Salt Lake City, they're allowed in, but nobody will trade with them, sell to them, board them, or buy from them. So they push off and head south along the Old Spanish Trail. This is when the Mormons decide that they should probably kill all of them. Now, the story that the Mormon historians will tell you relies on the dubious notion that a bunch of southern settlers, not being directed by Brigham Young, mistakenly thought this was a group of soldiers disguised as pioneers that had come to sabotage the Mormon war efforts from behind enemy lines, I guess. Yeah, but this relies on us believing that those settlers thought that some of the soldiers were disguised as toddlers. So
perfect ruse.
John Bonet.
I feel like in reality, it's a lot more likely the Mormons were so xenophobic by then that they had no qualms about murdering children if they came from elsewhere. Another possible explanation for this is that the Baker-Fancher party was fucking loaded and had a lot of shit worth stealing.
Marrying age is murdering age. That's on your magic plate somewhere. I guarantee it. It's somewhere in there.
They're just shooting little kids and then dressing them up in tiny little soldier onesies. Like, no, Jesus Christ.
Okay, you never know, Heath. I mean, maybe one of them had a bomb in their sippy cup. Anyway, I'm very brave, but I feared for my life. Clean shoot.
All right, so one way or the other, the Mormons at least had the sense not to just ride up and say, hey, we're the Mormons, we're here to kill you. Their polygamy and shit had already made them anathema to the bulk of the country, and stories of them just openly killing travelers and looting their shit would all but guarantee a full military crackdown if one wasn't already on the way. So they decided to attack the pioneers in red face.
Shut the fuck up.
Hello, white people that I am not. We are going to kill you now. Indianly, we will kill you.
That checks out, but wouldn't you have a Native American accent of some...
Get out of the Red Face Massacre!
You get out!
You're always doing this.
All right. So now, to be fair to them, they actually did manage to conscript a couple of genuine Native Americans to join their party and, maybe ride a little closer up towards the white people so they won't see that we just have construction paper feathers in our hair. But
they actually traveled out there to trade with the Native Americans. It was the original TPP.
TPP. All right. So on September 6th, the Baker-Fancher party stops at this grassy mountain-ringed meadow known as Mountain Meadow. It's got fresh water, plenty of good grazing, It's a real popular stop along the Old Spanish Trail. Now, their plan...
It already sounds better than Salt Lake City.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no kidding. That's true. It turned out not to be somehow. So their plan was to stop there and recuperate for a few days before heading out of the Utah territories for the next big leg of their trip. But on the evening of the 7th, the Mormons launched their attack.
And for 6 straight hours, they asked them if they had read their Jesus fan fiction or not. Did you read this yet?
What if I came back another time? Could I come back later this evening?
Man, being on mission has really changed over the years. Fucking mellowed out.
I mean, not in South America, but everywhere else, yeah. All right, so the pioneers circled the wagons, they literally, and chained them together and shit, making an impromptu defense. And in the opening salvo, 7 pioneers are killed, another 16 are wounded, but ultimately they repel the first wave and settle in for a siege.
Okay, I know this isn't the focus right now, guys, but I could swear those are white guys in red paint. Is that?
It's not the time, Steve. Come on.
Not the time. Sorry. It's just bothering me. I'm just cultural appropriation, right?
All right, so the Mormons, still disguised as Native Americans, kept them pinned down for 5 days. Through the whole time, the wagon train is steadily depleting its store of ammunition, food, and fresh water. But for their part, the Mormons are also losing patience. They weren't expecting a protracted siege. The longer they kept this up, the more likely it was that the U.S. Army was just going to be on this road anyway and fuck them silly over it. So local Mormon leadership starts to break down. It becomes fractured, with some people wanting to call off the attack and others wanting to escalate it.
And this is that weird moment where the sunk cost fallacy and murder kind of combine together.
Yes.
More often than you'd think. Way more often.
Well, in for a penny.
Yeah, yep.
Just described religion right there. Yeah.
For a penny, in for a pound of flesh.
All right, so but obviously after 5 days of this shit, you know, the pioneers had pieced together the fact that they were not being attacked by genuine Indians. Like by then, the fact that they were going like, hey, y'all, they seem to be running out of bullets was probably obvious. The Mormons had been openly hostile to them from the second that they entered Utah, and by now the red paint's got to be fading and scraping off.
Mormons switch up their plan. They're walking up to the wagons to attack, just like, we are Indians dressed as Mormons. So they are not in earshot yet. I sure hope this fools them. Okay, shut up. We're getting close.
All right, so the Mormons decide that they have no choice but to kill everyone in the party that was old enough to form long-term memories.
Grandpa, totally safe. Grandpa
Also, Noah, totally safe.
Okay, because I wasn't there. So,
how is Grandpa and Noah different? I'm just...
Grandpa doesn't do as many drugs.
Your grandpa.
All right, so it's Friday, September 11th.
Never forget. Never forget this, guys.
2 militiamen approach the wagon train under a white flag and with white faces. And once it's clear that they're not going to shoot those guys, they send in the negotiator guy who told those 2 to go first. This is a brave fella by the name of John D. Lee. So Lee says, hey, guys, look, we were going to kill you, but you turned out to be harder to kill than we thought you were going to be. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. You promised to turn all your weapons to me, the guy that's been trying to kill you for the last 5 days, and I...
Go on.
will escort you to the edge of the Utah territory, and if anything needs to be shot, I'll shoot it while I still have your guns. I'll give them back when we get there.
And that same negotiator later wrote the prequel to The Art of the Deal.
That was the Book of Mormon. All right, so as shitty as this deal is, the pioneers don't have any choice but to take it. They're settlers, they're not soldiers, they're running out of bullets, their children are starving, so they take the deal and hope for the best. They leave the safety of their encampment, the Mormons separate the men from the women, a signal is given, and they shoot all the men dead. As for the women and children, well, they were also shot dead, but by a different militia that had been hiding behind the bushes. They needed to ambush the women and children, you see.
Oh.
Some guy just got mad, clearly. It was just like, you guys never let me do an ambush. I want to do an ambush. You said I could do one.
I mean, we learned that you need to ambush women and children from the Waco episodes.
Right,
so
being repetitive
all the shows.
Now, okay, so to their credit, the Mormons did leave a few very young children alive. The kids who were too young to tell anybody what happened were just taken on a first-come, first-served basis among the locals who needed more farm labor, I guess.
Oh. That's Mormon.
At least they didn't get put in cages?
I guess
Is that the upshot?
silver lining.
God damn it. I want old-timey field hand kids,
Right?
not like new-timey Minecraft kids. Like, I'm not saying things were better back then. I'm just saying that back then things were better.
All right, so as long as you're not the ones getting shot, yeah.
Nobody says about today's kids, that'd be useful.
That's true. Just got a point.
All right, so the militia then sets about hastily burying the bodies and concocting a story that would blame this all on the Native Americans. But the fact that the Mormons openly auctioned off all the party's belongings at a local church made that a really hard sell.
Yeah, the upside is that after they killed all those people, they baptized their spirits and told God to let them all live on their own planet.
Well, that's
so,
true.
They did. Yeah.
that's basically Takesie's backsies.
Right,
That's
no,
basically
exactly.
what that
These
is.
people have been bitching ever since. All right,
Doing you a favor, really. Didn't even get a
saving you all
thank
that
card.
extra walking. You guys still had a long way to go. All right, so the exact death toll here isn't actually known, but it's generally accepted to be between 120 and 140 men, women, and children as young as 7, by the way. Eventually, 17 of the kids were recovered by the U.S. government and returned to relatives in Arkansas. The Civil War happened between those two events, though, and there's no way of knowing if that's all the children they stole. That's just the ones they could identify. In all, the people who died in the Mountain Meadow Massacre represent something like 80% of the casualties of the Utah War.
Yeah, so, like all but one American war, it was mostly people killing civilians, then somehow losing and then calling it a war.
Well, they started off calling the war on drugs a war, but other than that, yeah. Now, because of the ongoing war, the federal government couldn't investigate the massacre, so the first people to report on it were just the Mormons, who ultimately concluded that there were very fine people on both sides. Thank you. But about 7 months later, the U.S. wrapped the war up with a series of concessions to the Mormons that makes it really hard to say the Mormons didn't win this war.
That's you don't get concessions if you don't win. They won?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Ultimately,
We lost a war to the Mormons. The United
We
States
did.
of America lost a war to... Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Like they'll say that ultimately they won, but no, like the fucking U.S. got nothing out of it. The Mormons got all the shit they wanted. Ultimately, the only person held accountable for this massacre even was John D. Lee, who was apparently acting on his own no matter what reality had to say about it. And he was not sentenced and executed until March of 1877.
We killed the messenger. We literally killed him.
Yes!
His buddy that was there was just like, hey, John, so... you remember that awesome, Halloween party where we were all like, let's be Native Americans and pay respectful homage to the indigenous cultures that make our land diverse. And then you were all like, great idea, but then let's slaughter everyone that doesn't have a wristband. Okay, you're not going to love this next part, John.
All right, so I should note that one of the biggest lingering questions about this massacre is what involvement, if any, did Brigham Young, leader of the Mormons at the time, have? Well, that's impossible to pin down, but given the historical evidence, it's way more likely that he ordered and directed it than it is that he didn't. And some of that evidence is like what eyewitnesses and participants said 30 years later when they couldn't get in trouble anymore. So for their part, though, the Mormons did eventually get around to admitting that they had some culpability for the 1857 massacre and were very sorry about it 12 years ago.
What?
Oh.
Wait,
All right.
In 2007?
That's when they admitted that, yes, that they had done some of this, yes.
What the fuck?
Well, I'm sure that made everybody dead feel better.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. They're like, after 150 years, we're starting to think maybe...
Right. There was collusion. There was.
Give it some time. And Noah, if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, what would it be?
Think twice before you slam the door on those motherfuckers. They are way more bloodthirsty than I thought going into this.
So, are you ready for the Mormon quiz?
Oh, if they've got the guts to bicycle their little asses out here, I've got a fucking PowerPoint waiting by the door for them.
I meant from the panel.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm ready for that, too.
Oh, when we were in
go,
Georgia,
Jim.
I was just dying for them to show up and deal with Noah. I was every day rooting for that so hard. It never happened. Sad.
All right. Noah, Mormonism is a totally real and legitimate thing, and all religious ideas deserve our respect. Except A, nope. No.
Tom already rejected
B,
the premise. Good.
You'd think this would be obvious. Or C, this is literally why everyone being as well armed as the actual military is a terrible idea.
All right, okay, so it can't be B because that suggests that I assume that there are facts so basic as to be obvious to the average person. C will get me more pissy email than A. I'm going to go with A, the fuck off one.
Sure, what the hell?
All right, Noah. Mormon origins are best depicted in which feature film? A, it happened one Lamanite. B, Jacob's Latter-day Saints. C, Lee High School Musical. Or D, Knee Fight Club.
We shouldn't even be talking about this.
As something of an expert, actually, on Mormon film, I can tell you that Lee High School Musical is at least as close to a real thing as self-driving cars are at this point. I've watched that movie and the remake, and it was boring and insane as are Mormon origins, so I'm going to go with C.
Correct.
All right, last question. True or false? Following the death of Joseph Smith in 1844, Brigham Young added an oath of vengeance to the Mormon initiation ritual that said, "We will pray for God to guide us in avenging the blood of the prophets on the nation of the United States."
Oh, God.
And that vengeance oath was not removed until about 30 years later. A, true, B, false.
Okay, the only way that could sound more like Brigham Young is if you said he was skinning a live horse while he said it. So I'm going to go with A, true.
Actually, it's B, false. They didn't remove that until 80 years later.
Oh, my God. What?
That's a fact.
Right.
That was what, the 1940s?
The 20s, yeah. And at some point in the 20s, they were like, remember 80 years
since he
ago
got
when
killed.
we avenged the blood on the entire United States of America? Are we still
I feel
keeping
like we've
that?
done that. I feel like we got it.
I feel like we can erase that now. Check. Should we check it off the list? Yeah, we'll check it off the list.
There were
Great.
movies.
All
There were
right.
movies
Well,
by then.
Heath is the most Mormon, so he wins.
Excellent. And next week, I would like to get an essay from Tom.
Ooh. All right. Well, for Tom, Cecil,
No.
Noah, and Heath, I'm Eli. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Tom will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can listen to Noah and Cecil on their podcast, Grumpin', Sundays at 8 a.m. You can catch Tom and Heath's YouTube channel.
I would make that so hard. No, I would fucking make that podcast. It's so great. That's so fucking amazing. Oh, Jesus.
You should check out Tom and Heath's YouTube channel, What Won't We Eat, as soon as those copyright strikes come down. And you can listen to my blog if you'd like to watch me slowly come apart at the seams. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. That actually really, really matters. So do that, please.
Yes.
It's right there
It's not
on
a
your
joke.
phone. Do it.
Yes.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com.
I already told you I'm going to keep the second one in the show.
Yeah, no, I know you said that. I just want to watch you do it. I'm going to watch right now.
Okay, hold on. There. See? Right there.
Yeah, okay. Well, now hit publish. You didn't hit publish yet.
Okay, all right. There.
Good. Jokes.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
You gonna re-upload it without the second sketch?
You bet your ass I am.
Stab you.